Welcome back to Bottomline Africa. So let's have a discussion about renewable energy, and the United Nations Secretary General has called for help from all countries to take action against climate change following a meeting of world leaders that addressed major gaps on emissions targets and climate finance. With less than 6 weeks to go before world leaders convene for a major climate summit in Glasgow, UN Chief Antonio Guterres asked for solidarity to avert climate catastrophe. Environmentalists are pushing for adoption of cleaner sources of energy to save the world. To discuss more about the importance of clean energy solutions is Omri Cohen, the CEO and director of Kiloit, a company focused on providing technical and agricultural solutions to farmers and rural areas. Thank you so much, Mr. Cohen, for joining us here on Bottomline Africa today. We are talking about renewable energy. This is a discussion, a topic that will never end. Kindly break it down for us. When we say renewable energy, what are we talking about exactly?
Thanks for having me, Brenda. First, renewable energy is anything that is based on natural resources, like the sun, like the water, and so on, like the wind. And I think it's clear that Kenya is a leader in this respect in Africa.
And you know, renewable energy, Kenya being one of the countries that's leading within the East African, what should a country look for when they're focusing, when they want to focus on renewable energy?
Well, the natural resources are already there. So the sun, the radiation of the sun, the speed of the wind, the locations of the wind, certainly speed of water, rivers, geothermal, things that we have a lot of in the country. And the next thing is finding the right technologies to link with these resources in order for us to be able to absorb and take these resources and use them to create energy.
And when you're talking about green energy, the country that comes into mind is Israel. Israel is very big. You know, it's going big on renewable energy. But briefly, kindly give us a brief background about Israel, because they are big in renewable energy. And remember, Israel is a largely desert country.
Correct. So Israel is almost two-thirds of a desert, and that means that there is very little rain. Yet Israel has become a power hub for innovations, for agriculture and renewable energy. Naturally, Israel is a very hot country, and the sun in Israel is very strong. So the initial idea was to utilize the sun resource, and therefore a significant amount of the power in Israel, especially in the southern part of Israel, is actually from solar power. Having said that, every other innovation, there's many hubs in Israel that all they do is create all these technologies, and most of them are dedicated for the African continent. And that's one of the reasons we're here.
In fact, I was about to ask you, you know, just to give us you engage us on your journey and your operations in Kenya. What made you see Kenya as one of the countries, one of the African countries that has the potential of, you know, investing in renewable energy?
So we've been exploring Kenya. Personally, I've been coming to Kenya since I was 13, and my wife is also Israeli but grew up in Kenya, so that's my personal connection to the country. But in general sense, we've been looking at Kenya for the last 6 years, developing the specific needs for rural areas and farmers. And naturally, we're not the only ones, but our goal was to bring Israeli technologies to Kenya and from Kenya to the rest of the continent.
So what lessons can we grasp from countries that have successfully implemented the renewable energy?
Well, I think the main thing is reaching all these people in the rural areas and all these farmers and families that are currently using very wrong methods to cook, or drinking bad water, or using other fossil fuels in order to get their power in their houses. I think we need to allow more people access to power, to cooking gas, to drinking water, and this is what we are here to do.
And I know your program focuses on three things. That is clean water, something you've mentioned, clean energy, and clean cooking. And when you're focusing on the rural parts of this country, these are three, actually there are four, because we have clean water, clean energy, and clean cooking. There's some parts of this country, truth be told, the interior parts of this country, that can't even access clean water. So how can we go about that?
Well, so let's start with the clean water. There are sources of water in the country, but they're not clean for drinking, and 85% of the sicknesses, especially in children, are because of drinking bad water. So we have various solutions for that. We call it the NUF purification. It's a purifying system that can convert any source of water to drinking water. So that is something that I totally recommend families, and especially schools, when you have a large amount of students that need to have this significant and important access to drinking water and to water you can cook with. So that is something that we are currently working on with few schools, and when you check the results between the test results between before and after, you can see that the bacteria has just vanished, disappeared.
But then what makes Kenya an attractive market, to explore when it comes to their green energy solution?
To begin with, the Kenyans are great. This is a great country. The people here are thinking about renewable energy. They know how important it is. They would like to have the solutions to change their current habits to renewable energy. People who are cooking and inhaling smoke and burning charcoals are looking to find other solutions in order to make their family healthier, or to cook with our biogas, for example, converting waste to energy. So we get very good responses from the people out there in the rural areas, and they're looking for these solutions that we are here to bring to them.
And charcoal, the usage of charcoal is something that has been an issue here in the country, and the government has done or tried to do all it can to ensure that charcoal becomes a thing of the past. And the reason as to why I'm talking about the usage of charcoal is because you're also talking about using, clean cooking. So when you're talking about clean cooking, what are we exactly talking about? Is it not using charcoal, or we just end up all of us using gas?
No, 100% not using charcoals to begin with. 2% of the world emissions are coming from cooking with charcoals. It's terrible. It's almost as equivalent as the fossil fuel emissions. What you need to understand, and it's good that we are interviewing today, because just the other day, a few weeks ago, you've seen the disasters, the natural disasters around the world, floods and so on, and all this is a result of the natural damage that is happening because of this cooking and other things that we do to this world. So the first thing is stop cooking with charcoal, stop killing trees. We need the trees in this country, and we have other solutions. I think from your question, the answer to your question is that the people need the access to these technologies so they can actually convert what they are currently doing to better solutions. If they don't do it, it's because they don't have the access to these solutions.
So how are you engaging Kenyans within the rural parts of this country in terms of renewable energy?
Well, we drive a lot, we walk a lot, we meet them, we explain them, we do lots of trainings, we go from house to house, from school to school. We're trying to get assistance from different NGOs and other organizations that are usually very strong in the country and in the region. And we are calling everybody now to join hands with us in order to get to more people and faster.
All right. And as we bring this conversation to an end, Mr. Cohen, talk to us about the importance of countries embracing green energy, especially within the African continent.
So I think the importance is clear. You can see the difference between countries who have this, the governments that are leading, like the government of Kenya, that are seeing the importance in changing the habits of the people, and putting or assisting and changing the laws and the regulations in order to help and support number one, companies like us that are coming to the country in order to develop and promote these subjects, but also helping with other financial solutions to the end users, to the farmers, and to the remote areas that we are trying to reach. And that is something that I think we need to do more of.
All right. Thank you so much. Omri Cohen is the CEO and Director of Kilot, a company that focuses on providing technical and agricultural solutions to farmers and off-grid, or actually in rural areas. Definitely a conversation that will never end. We'll have you another time. But then let's look at other stories making the headlines here in the country. Let's start with Kenya. And donkey owners in Kenya are demanding a permanent ban on the slaughter of the animals after a court lifted a temporary